Meeting with Jewish leaders, President Macron announces new measures to tackle a surge in anti-Semitic hate crimes in France. Bangladesh says the British teen Shamima Begum, who joined the IS group in Syria, has no right to its nationality after the UK government revoked her citizenship. And Pope Francis calls a 4-day meeting of senior bishops to discuss the worsening paedophilia crisis that's rocking the Catholic Church. Welcome to the France 24 newsroom in Paris. I'm Alexander Orcott. Now we begin here in France, where Emmanuel Macron has announced a series of measures to combat a flare-up of anti-Semitism. Among the recent hate crimes, almost 100 Jewish tombstones were spray-painted with swastikas in the Alsace region near Germany on Tuesday, sparking an outcry from demonstrators. The French president, who's been attending an annual dinner hosted by senior Jewish figures this Wednesday night, has promised that those responsible for the anti-Semitic acts will be punished.
Anti-Semitism is increasingly hiding under a mask of anti-Zionism. France will, with its European partners, as agreed in December, will implement the definition of anti-Semitism adopted by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance.
For more details, France 24's Yuka Roya takes a look now at the recent anti-Semitic crimes in France and what can already be done under French law to tackle them.
A picture of iconic Holocaust survivor Simone Weil covered with a swastika. The word Juden, German for Jews, sprayed across a bagel shop window. And a number of graves desecrated with Nazi symbols at a Jewish cemetery. Anti-Semitic acts have multiplied in recent days and months. The Interior Ministry has found that in 2018, the number of incidents of this nature increased by 74% from the previous year. They involved verbal abuses, threats, and in some cases physical violence, acts punishable under French criminal law. Among the recent incidents, a man taunting prominent writer Alain Finkielkraut on the street during a yellow vest protest. Insulting a person in public is an offence that carries a fine of up to 12,000 euros. If the abuse is racist in nature, the perpetrator could face up to 1 year in prison and 45,000 euros in fines. Vandalising graves is also a criminal act which could send the offender to prison for up to 3 years. If it's considered an attack on a particular religion, then a fine of 45,000 euros could be added. Painting swastikas or other Nazi symbols across public or private properties carries an even heavier punishment of up to 5 years in prison. Most of these anti-Semitic attacks have been attributed to far-right extremists, but in recent years a new trend has emerged, according to one expert.
We are seeing new types of anti-Semitic acts that have arisen in part among people of Muslim faith as a result of rising tensions between Israel and Palestinians. We've also noted another type of anti-Semitic sentiment stirred among a certain number of people from the far left, nurtured by anti-capitalist, anti-Israel, and anti-Zionist speeches.
Speaking at a dinner with Jewish community leaders, President Emmanuel Macron deplored what he called the worst resurgence of anti-Semitism since World War II and said that a new bill against online hate speech would be presented in May.
Moving on to other news now, and hundreds of civilians have been tracked out of the last pocket of land held by the Islamic State group in eastern Syria this Wednesday, as the jihadist fighters' final defeat draws ever closer. The so-called caliphate that once spanned swathes of Syria and neighbouring Iraq has been reduced to a single square kilometre that's now fully surrounded by the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces. The SDF says, however, that this is just a first wave of evacuations and that a large number of civilians and IS fighters still remain inside. Those removed are being screened and then taken to camps. Well, the implosion of the proto-state now raises difficulties of what to do with the hundreds of people who flocked to join the IS group, with the highest profile case so far being that of the former British schoolgirl Shamima Begum, who fled to Syria with 2 friends in 2015. The British government has decided to revoke the British citizenship of Begum, saying that she qualifies for Bangladeshi citizenship through her mother, although the Bangladeshi government says that there is no such claim. With a look at the legality of the British position, France 24 earlier spoke to Tom Brooks from Durham Law School.
It's not lawful for the British government to make anyone stateless. That's according to not only international treaties the British government signed up to, but also British law. The government claimed in stripping her of her British citizenship that she had, in fact, a second citizenship, that she was really a Bangladeshi. And so in removing her Britishness, that she had something else to rely on. And so was not stateless, had somewhere else that she could potentially go. One of the problems here is not just that Bangladesh has said no, but the problem is that the Home Secretary should have, spoken to his boss, Theresa May, because a few years ago she lost a case in the Supreme Court where she moved to remove British citizenship from someone who was thought to be Iraqi. And the government had claimed that they thought that he had an automatic entitlement to it, but had not been confirmed by the other side. And the Supreme Court said that if someone does not actually have, in fact, citizenship recognized by the other country, then they don't have it. It's not for the British government to make assumptions about what citizenships others would have. So I don't think it is lawful. And I think she will successfully challenge this.
It's recently been announced that Donald Trump's former lawyer and longtime fixer Michael Cohen will testify in a public hearing next Wednesday. A U.S. congressional committee is set to focus questions on the president's payments relating to efforts to influence the 2016 election, his compliance with tax and campaign finance laws, as well as his other business practices. Cohen had originally been scheduled to testify on February the 7th, but said he cancelled because of threats against his family from Trump. At least 56 people have been killed in a huge fire that tore through apartment buildings in an old part of the Bangladeshi capital, Dhaka. The fire service says the blaze might have originated from a gas cylinder before quickly spreading through buildings that were storing chemicals. Dozens of people were trapped in the buildings, unable to escape onto narrow streets clogged with traffic, and the death toll is expected to rise. Around 250,000 people are expected to attend a concert on the Colombian border with Venezuela this Friday, where aid is being prevented from entering the crisis-hit country by President Nicolas Maduro. The show that it's hoped will raise millions of dollars for aid is being backed by the billionaire businessman Richard Branson, who's been criticized by some for politicizing the aid. But Branson says he's responding to a request from Juan Guaido, who's recognized as interim president by dozens of countries, including the US as well as the EU. Here's what the opposition leader had to say.
We're not stopping here. We're going to stay out in the streets. This 23rd of February, we're going to mobilize every garrison, every border post, and send a very clear message. As we've done since the beginning, in a peaceful but very firm manner. This 23rd of February, we'll go to every border post to demand that humanitarian aid be allowed through to allow us to save lives in our country.
And finally, with the Catholic Church in crisis following multiple and worldwide accusations of child sex abuse by the clergy, Pope Francis has called senior bishops to meet for 4 days to discuss how to best tackle the problem. France 24's correspondent in the Vatican, Natalia Mendoza, has been meeting one of the many victims of clerical abuse, who tells us more about the lasting damage it has caused.
Although time has moved on, Arturo cannot forget. He was 12 years old when he met Father Silverio Mura, his religious education teacher, at his school near Naples in the south of Italy.
One day he invited me to come into his house. I accepted. Once inside, he asked me to come closer. He kissed me. A violent kiss. I still remember his bad breath and the forcing of his tongue. I was in shock.
This was the first of a long series of sexual abuse incidents that he says went on for a period of more than 4 years.
I was totally submissive. Everything he told me to do, I did. I was vulnerable. I was scared of him, and he controlled me.
In 2010, Arturo broke his silence and denounced the priest. Father Mura was just moved to another parish in the region and continued to work with minors. Today, he condemns the complicity of the diocese.
My case was hushed up. When a victim denounces a paedophile, he's not expecting a trophy. He just wants to be listened to. I had to file a complaint twice.
Since he pressed charges, 10 other alleged victims have denounced the same priest. This morning, Arturo is received at the Vatican. He wants to know how the trial against Father Mura, led by the Congregation for the Doctrine, is progressing. After meeting with an assistant to the Pope, he discusses the developments with his lawyer.
It went well. He said that he would have the sentence soon. This meeting has given me hope that justice will be done, and that's very important, because justice helps us, the victims, to heal.
After the meeting, he was given a portrait of the Pope and a blessed rosary, a small consolation for Arturo, who will need psychiatric treatment for the rest of his life.
Those are all our top stories this hour. Stay tuned to France 24. We now go to the debate with François Picard.